If it makes fans of Taylor Sheridan's smash Western drama feel any better, certain rumors about Yellowstone Season 6 have been circulating ever since Paramount Network pitched the approaching finale as a season finale rather than a series finale. The conclusion of Yellowstone Season 5 is drawing near, but if it makes them feel any better, it is because of these theories. Despite the fact that we will have to wait to find out what Sheridan has in store for the future of the ranch and the Dutton family, a brief preview for episode 14, also known as the Season 5 finale, was broadcast at the conclusion of Yellowstone Season 5 episode 13 on December 8th. This provided viewers with their first look at all of the drama, conflict, and emotional encounters that are to come. The promo for the 5th season of Yellowstone hinted to a burial for John Dutton, played by Kevin Costner, tears from Beth, played by Kelly Riley, and tears from Casey, played by Luke Grimes. Additionally, the video showed Rip, played by Cole Hauser, and Mo, played by Mo Brings Plenty, up to something at night. Finally, the preview showed Beth making a promise to avenge the loss of her father. Are you interested in looking at a frame-by-frame deconstruction of the teaser trailer for the most recent episode of the Paramount Network, which is episode 514, before the premiere on Sunday, December 15th? You don't need to worry for us. Please be aware that there are spoilers in the following paragraphs. Whether or not Yellowstone continues beyond Season 5, the Season 5 finale has multiple loose ends that need to be tied, and it should ideally bring fans and characters alike to a satisfactory place of closure. This is because the Season 5 finale follows such a unique two-part season and a series of key fatalities. The brief preview of the final episode of Season 5, which is being advertised as the special season finale event, begins with Beth telling Rip, funeral home called, he's ready, they are going to do it today. We observe people passing by on their way to the cemetery belonging to the Dutton family. Beth is seen standing outside and crying with her hand covering her mouth, and Rip, Casey, Lloyd, Forey, J. Smith, and others are seen bringing John Dutton's casket out of the barn. Long-time Yellowstone viewers, regardless of whether they approve or disapprove of the manner in which Season 5 dealt with the passing of the influential patriarch, are certain to shed a few tears as the series finally puts Kevin Costner's character to rest and formally marks the end of an era. As the occurrences that followed John Dutton's passing brought to our attention, even though he is no longer with us, he will never be forgotten. As a result, the struggle to preserve his legacy and safeguard his property will continue for a very long time after he is buried. When I was younger, I made a commitment to your father. A Dutton ally named Thomas Rainwater, played by Gil Birmingham, warns either Beth or Casey that your people are buried in that land, and so are mine with them. As for Casey, it appears from the teaser of the last episode that he is going to have a very difficult time dealing with the funeral of his father. We see Monica rushing to give him a hug, and then we get another view of him struggling to contain his emotions and crying. Immediately following the scene of Casey sobbing, Rip is seen standing by himself at the cemetery and throwing a shovel on the ground underneath him. The tone of the preview changes as a result of the explanation that some people deal with death differently, which is delivered by a voice that sounds like Rip's. The vibes go from mourning to revenge, with shots of Mo wearing face paint with a group of supporters behind him on horseback at night, a determined Beth walking as though she's on a mission, a shirtless Casey, Jamie driving a car, and a man in a cowboy hat emerging from his truck at night and lighting a match. Rip is the one who strikes a match, throws it in the back of an SUV, and then hops in his truck with Lloyd with the intention of driving away from the flames, as was demonstrated in the original teaser for Season 5, Part 2. Whose automobile was it exactly? The final teaser picture for episode 14 shows Beth kneeling down to her father's casket and murmuring, "I will avenge you." This indicates that Jamie is likely going to be in for a nasty surprise before the season comes to a close. However, we will have to wait and see what happens. On the evening of Sunday, December 15th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, the next new episode of Yellowstone, which is Season 5, Episode 14, also known as the Season 5 finale, will be broadcast on Paramount Network. As soon as Jamie Dutton made his first acquaintance with Sarah Atwood, the new corporate lawyer in the show, he began to dig his own grave. During the time that he was encouraging Sarah to employ a covert assassination crew that had previously executed the treacherous crime, he became involved in the murder of his father, John. Today was the launch of Yellowstone Season 5, which was the penultimate episode, also known as Episode 13, and it subtly hinted at Jamie's unavoidable death in the most recent season's conclusion. As soon as Casey provided evidence that his father had been murdered, the focus of the entire world shifted to the market equities. As a result of Jamie's love involvement with Sarah Atwood, he started to come under increasing amounts of emotional scrutiny. Throughout the course of the events that took place in Season 5, Jamie has consistently relied on Sarah to serve as his decision-maker. On the other hand, given that she had been eliminated from the narrative, Jamie was forced to contact his ex-girlfriend Christina once more. We are fortunate that Christina consented to meet with him at his residence. As Jamie exited his vehicle and entered the house, there was a faint train whistle blowing noise that could be heard in the distance. Even the subtitles specified the sound so that we wouldn't miss out on this seemingly insignificant but extremely important aspect. In the event that you have been a Yellowstone fan for a considerable amount of time, you must already be aware of the significance of the train station and in the program. There, Dutton and his crew carry out their executions of their adversaries. When Jamie became involved in the murder of his own father, he was the one who ultimately brought about his own demise. Now, it is believed that this scenario in which the train whistle blew is a portent of Jamie's death, which will take place in the upcoming 8th and final episode of Season 5. The fans are assuming that he will be taken to the train station by either Casey or Beth and put to death as a result of his deeds. In the first part of this episode, Jamie confronted his sister Beth and threatened to reveal the deepest secrets that the family has been keeping. In spite of the fact that Christina wanted him to reaffirm his father's values during a press conference, Jamie may very well have taken the other approach in order to uncover the most sensitive and confidential topics pertaining to the Dutton family. The most expected conclusion of Yellowstone Season 5 may therefore see the remaining members of the Dutton family being coerced into carrying out the execution of their brother Jamie. For a very long time, I have been under the impression that Jamie will eventually find his penance in the program. However, based on the way his character's narrative is developing, it appears that the authors have already made up their minds that he will be the ultimate antagonist of the Dutton family. While there are fans who believe that the Attorney General is finally receiving the exit he deserves in the show, there are still those who believe that his character was handled so horribly in the end. What are your thoughts on the fact that Jamie passed away in Yellowstone? Please leave your forecasts in the comments section below. The 13th episode of Yellowstone's 5th season, titled Give the World Away, is the penultimate episode of the season and most likely the final episode of the entire series. Accordingly, there are some expectations that must be satisfied. In just one more chapter, it is necessary for it to get the characters to a point where they can find resolution to their problems. Particularly in light of the cliffhanger that occurred in the middle of the season, it is imperative that the issues that Season 5 has posed be resolved. And the script accomplishes that in a manner that is almost flawless. A significant portion of Give the World Away is devoted to the financial difficulties that the Dutton Ranch is experiencing, which has been a major theme for the entirety of Season 5, particularly in the second half of the season. Audiences are now able to witness everything coming to a head. This episode is pretty plainly Taylor Sheridan looking back and looking towards a very precise endgame for the television show that became a nationwide phenomenon. There are other moving components, and certain detours that may or may not be required, but in this episode, she is looking both back and towards the endgame. For what seems like an eternity, audiences have been hearing about the Duttons' predicament in terms of their finances. Rip Wheeler has spent the entirety of the first half of the show discussing profit and loss, with season 5 billion beginning due to the fact that he was traveling out of state with the cowboys. To tell you the truth, Yellowstone can only spend a limited amount of time on everyone talking about the gloom and doom before it needs to take action and make things happen. Give the world away is the name of such very item. In Sheridan's story, Rip is the one who tells Ryan that practically everyone needs to look for new employment. One of the most important aspects of the show is the auctioning off of the horses. In addition, it contains the essential but equally gut-wrenching scene of a stable that is totally empty. It is a dreadful sight to witness, but it is one that does a great job of driving home the point. Yellowstone fans who have been watching the show for years will find it particularly distressing. In response to Beth's question, Rip Wheeler asked, "How am I supposed to run a ranch if you sell everything we own?" There are some fleeting but delightful moments, particularly those that take place between Beth and Carter and Rip and Lloyd, who is a fan favorite among ranch hands. The times that require a sense of seriousness and silence are provided with both of those things. The only flaw in this storyline is that it seems like Sheridan is giving himself one last opportunity to have fun on television when Beth goes to Texas to visit Travis Wheatley. This is the sole weakness in this plotline. The supermodel Bella Hadid is portrayed as Travis' girlfriend, and he is reportedly having a great time playing strip poker with chicks. This information comes from Deadline. All of this never ceases to feel like wish fulfillment, despite the fact that it is intended to be hilarious and to draw attention to Travis's large persona. After some time has passed, Rip's explanation to Beth about why he is friends with Travis appears to be a kind of retroactive rationalization for the circus, as Beth could refer to it. In spite of the fact that Travis does play a significant role in the narrative, the tone and the plot of the story are somewhat dissonant when compared to the more solemn and serious events that take place in other parts of the novel. Casey Dutton informs his wife Monica and Beth that the medical examiner's office has released John Dutton's body in the middle of the auction narrative. Beth is also informed regarding this development. While Beth is beginning to make preparations for her father's funeral, Monica offers to transport John back home from the coroner's office. When everything that is occurring to the ranch is taken into consideration, this seems like an aside nonetheless. It is plainly a significant emotional event, and it serves as a clear touchstone for Sheridan to build the Yellowstone finale around. Many individuals, including a significant number of admirers, consider John Dutton to be the ranch in Yellowstone. It is hardly possible to ignore the significance of his funeral. At the same time as it is thematically sound, it has the effect of bringing the story back around to the family. Although the murder of John marked the beginning of the second half of Season 5, it is only natural that this block of episodes concludes with the act of laying him to rest. Letter from Linnell Perry to Beth. I believe that I have attended a greater number of funerals on this ranch than I have all around the state. In addition to that, Sheridan has made a pretty astute move. He provides viewers who may have stopped watching following Kevin Costner's departure a cause to come back for the episode by including John's funeral in the conclusion, and as a result, making John at least a part of the focus of the episode. Additionally, it makes it possible for Yellowstone to continue in whatever form in the future, which is a technical advantage. In the event that he desires to bring back the characters who have already been introduced, there is now a clear demarcation between the ranch as it was known to the audience and a new version of the ranch. Rip even gives Lloyd the hope that they would be able to reconstruct the ranch. There is also the possibility that John's burial will act as a farewell to the Dutton family as a whole, in the event that he decides to carry forward with a new cast. There are certain resolutions that are permanent, and there are some resolutions that are obviously less permanent. Give the world away. Jamie Dutton seeks the guidance of his ex-girlfriend Christina in order to find a way to preserve himself. This is a positive step forward in light of the fact that Jamie was almost completely absent in Yellowstone Season 5. Episode 12, Counting Coup. If Jamie spends the final episode continuing to do nothing but take phone calls and panic, then the result will not be a satisfying conclusion to anything. Casey makes it abundantly obvious that he intends to depart the ranch with his family and himself, as if anyone was still curious about this. If this is the end of all that has to do with the Duttons. Then episode 13 offers more than enough opportunities for closure by providing paths. Casey, Dutton, we are leaving this location by walking away. It is not something I want to follow us. Despite this, viewers are aware of how much Sheridan enjoys playing in the Yellowstone sandbox. The Madison, a spin-off of Yellowstone, is currently in the process of being broadcast on television, and he has already produced 2 prequels. It is also possible to continue the story in a number of other ways. The most obvious and cliché solution would be for the Duttons to hand over the ranch to the family that plays the lead role in the Madison, and then there would be a smooth transfer from one generation to the next. However, that is not the sole choice either. In the event that Paramount decides to change their minds and continue with these people, it is intriguing that a post-episode promo is being billed as a season finale. Rather than a series finale, the ranch may be able to go with an established protagonist, possibly a member of the next generation. A wacky but also kind of emotional notion would be Rainwater, considering that he and John shared a passion to conserving the earth. This would also give Gil Birmingham's character greater significance in the conclusion of the story, which would be a win-win situation. On the other hand, there are figures in the current fold that are worth interacting with. The 13th episode of Yellowstone's 5th season demonstrates that Taylor Sheridan is totally in control of the situation. It's possible that fans won't agree with everything he has to say, but he has devised a strategy that works for the conclusion of the series, works for the possibility of spin-offs, and provides him the opportunity to be front and center at the conclusion. In a single package, he completes everything. In addition, viewers can give the world away with the knowledge that Yellowstone will present them with a denouement that satisfies their expectations, even if nothing further takes place. Whether or if there is a spin-off version of this episode, Sheridan brings the focus back to the most important aspect of the story, the family.